Last Stand battle series continues. Finnigan 40K, same weekend, second battle, and we have the Death Guard. So they just got their new codex as well. This force is coming in at 490 points. I don't think they've changed too much since their previous rules, which is great. They still have their aura ability there with Nurgle's Gift, which is like a contagion that affects hits and things for the enemy that they're fighting. And this looks like a very small force, and I don't want to jinx anything, but these guys might make it the furthest. So my previous video there with the World Eaters was like an hour and 15. We're still working out some of the rules there. I'm going to try to definitely make this one a little bit shorter. In here, though, we have the Finnigan Blade Hauler. The toughness on all of these models is incredible. Very good weapon systems on that too. We have the Death Shroud Terminators that are from Horus Heresy era. So these guys are in Cataphracti armor. Used to be Death Guard, Death Shroud, and now they're kind of all Nurgled up. So incredible strength, amazing toughness. I really want to see how these guys handle things like the Von Rein's Leaper, maybe even the Turvagon with them. We'll have to see. Over here, we have a very old school, well, not very old school, but pretty old school Nurgle Demon Prince model. So this guy, I remember seeing him in a Codex, or a White Dwarf way back in the day, fighting the Ultramarines in like a cityscape. So I definitely wanted to bring him back in. He's a pewter model too, so he weighs like a good pound or so, solid metal. And then we have a Beast of Nurgle here, and this thing has a regeneration ability that I do not believe it used to have. So if this thing is not killed outright by the Tyranid, it just continues to regenerate its lost wounds, and it comes in every single turn with those full wounds. So again, 490 points. Death Guard taking on the set Tyranid army of about 1,200 points. We're going to get this one started right away. Do the Death Guard move, and I'll come right back and show you guys what they've done. Okay, so the Nurgle Death Guard move is over. The Demon Prince jumped over the wall and is facing off with the Screamer Killer. I know there's a bit of a size difference here, but the Demon Prince is pretty much the same strength as that Screamer Killer. So same wound count at 10 wounds. There's some similar strength. It's got a ranged weapon as well, so we're going to see how that goes. And the Nurgle's Gift is on right now for the first round, and I'll get to that in just a sec. The Beast of Nurgle took its place here against the wall, and it is facing off against the Von Rein's Leapers, so it does not have a ranged attack, I do not believe. If it does, I might use it here. If not, it's probably going to wait. The Demon Prince is actually still pretty quick at 10 inches. The Beast of Nurgle is moving at 6. The Death Shroud, who moved up to the wall here, much slower at 5 inches. They're all kind of like crusty and rusty, so they don't move as quickly as they maybe once did when they were healthy Terminators. And the Finnigan Blade Hauler moved here, and I'm actually thinking about putting all of its rounds into the Turvagon to try to soften that thing up. And then anything that comes over the wall can be handled by the Death Shroud Terminators. These guys also have a ranged attack. So currently, as I was saying, there's Nurgle's Gift. It's a faction ability for the Death Guard. So in the first battle round, which is right now, there's a contagion range of 3 inches. The second battle round, that goes to 6. And then the third and all remaining is 9 inches. And the Afflicted, what happens there is during the Declare... and you can do plagues now too, and you have to look into that. But the Gift of Nurgle affects certain things that the enemies are doing, so like the roll to hit, stuff like that. So we'll get into that a little bit later when we get to the dice tray, and I can give that a look. But I'm going to do the shoot phase, do that off camera for you guys, come back and let you know how the Death Guard have done and what my strategy was there with that. All right, so that is the end of the Death Guard shoot phase. Nothing in hand-to-hand. So the Finnigan Blade Hauler on the left there fired into the Turvagon. This thing has some pretty good firepower. Just nothing was able to penetrate yet. It does have a multi-melta, and I did not get the Melta 2 bonus, but as that Turvagon gets closer, that's probably going to help out, and I might get some extra rolls in there. The Death Shroud Terminators fired into the Von Rein's Leapers, and they were actually able to wound one with their Bile Spurt Gauntlet. I think that's what it's called. It's a torrent weapon, kind of like a flamer, but it shoots out like a bile-ish goo, I guess, and it was able to wound one of those Von Rein's Leapers, so when those do start to jump in on them, it's going to be softened up a bit. The Beast of Nurgle does not have a ranged attack, and it went right up to the wall, so it is waiting out for those Von Rein's Leapers to jump it, and we will see what happens there. And then down here, the Demon Prince with its cannon was able to fire into the Screamer Killer and actually wound the Screamer Killer. Took 2 wounds off of it, so it is down to 8. And that again is softened up for the Demon Prince here. So just to cover again the Nurgle's Gift that I was talking about earlier, I didn't actually check to the very bottom of the app here, and I haven't read it yet in the codex, so I was just thinking it was the same. So afflicted, during the declare battle formation step, select one of the plagues below. Until the end of the battle, while an enemy unit is afflicted, subtract 1 from the toughness characteristic of all models in that unit, and that unit has the effect of your chosen plague. So this doesn't just do the -1 to toughness, it also now has a plague that is linked to it. So there's the Skull Squirm Blight, which subtracts 1 from the hit roll, the Battle Joint Egg, which worsens the save characteristic of models in this unit, so that's really good. And then the Scabrous Soul Rot, which is more for kind of objectives and movement, but I can choose any of these if the models are within 3 inches. So nothing is there yet, but as these models jump into hand-to-hand combat, there's like this miasma of disgustingness around the Nurgle and Death Guard and Plague Marine models. So this is going to affect those that are fighting them. These guys will also be taking on my Astra Militarum in one of the battles in the future, and it is very good to know that this ability exists, because my Cadian, again, are going to have to keep these guys at range if they want to be able to lessen their numbers and possibly win. So we're going to move back over to the Tyranid. It is their move here in just a sec, and then I'll come back, show you guys that real quick. If there's any shoots to be done, we'll get that going in the tray, or maybe just shoot that off camera to keep this thing short. And yeah, I'll be back in a sec with the Tyranid move. Tyranid move phase is complete. These guys are keeping their distance. They really don't want to get inside that Nurgle's gift contagion range. All of them are outside of 3 inches right now, but as the battle moves ahead, that contagion range is going to expand as the flies and putridness all kind of spreads across the field. So there's going to be a lot of shots coming in on the Demon Prince in this turn. We have the 20 Termagants that are going to be firing. We have the Screamer Killer, and we also have 10 Gargoyles. So we're going to see how strong this guy really is in regards to shots. Toughness is fantastic on him. Save is also very good, so we're going to see how that goes. The Beast of Nurgle is in hand-to-hand combat with the Von Ryan's Leapers. I'm hoping with its toughness 2, it's going to be able to withstand their attack, and also they are in the contagion, so I'm going to be rolling this in the dice tray when we get over to the hand-to-hand, and we'll cover kind of which one I've selected for the Nurgle turn to make it the very hardest for any kind of model in hand-to-hand combat to land a hit or to wound. Over here, the Barbgaunts are still waiting. They're probably going to shoot into those Death Shroud Terminators. The Ripper Swarm has moved up. Ripper Swarm was here, stayed back. Don't want to get into that contagion range. Same with the Von Ryan's Leapers, which is kind of rare for them, actually. So they stayed back this time, because if they get into hand-to-hand combat with that contagion ability against the Death Shroud, those Man Reapers are just going to slice them in half. The Turvagon did move in. It is still outside of the 3 inches, but it's going to try to put some shots in on the Myphitic Blight Hauler. And also these 40 Termagants are all in range as well. And last but not least, I know it's not the shoot yet, but I also dropped a Spore Mine in, so 9 inches away from the back of the Death Shroud Terminators, we have a Spore Mine dropped in. So I'm going to roll all of these Tyranid shoots off camera. I'm going to come back and show you guys what wounds have been lost, or if any models have been killed on the side of the Death Guard. And we will continue on with the hand-to-hand combat that's going on here in just a sec. And I really want to see how this Beast of Nurgle does against the Von Ryan's Leapers. And again, they have to kill this thing outright, or it is going to be able to regenerate wounds. So that's going to be very interesting to watch. We will start over here for that Tyranid shoot phase. So all of the firepower that was here went into the Demon Prince, brought it down to 1 wound, and that was actually from the Screamer Killer. Some very good rolls, though, and that's strength 5 from the Flesh Borer again. Even against Death Guard, it's actually doing okay. So I was expecting this guy to come out unscathed. None of the Flesh Borers did anything to him. The Screamer Killer did, but I'll get over to the other side and just show you what happened there. So on this side here, the Barbgaunts, as well as the Ripper Swarms, fired into our Death Shroud, and again, not high enough strength on those weapons to be able to do any damage, so they are completely fine. Got some very good rolls, though. I think the Barbgaunts had like 21 or 22 shots. That all went in. Nothing happened. On this side is where it got a little tricky. So the Turvagon fired into our Myphitic Blight Hauler. It brought it down to 9 wounds from 10. And then the 40 Termagants that are here, a lot of shots came in. They need to get a 4+ to hit. And then that strength 5, again, helped out. So it was easier to hit this thing. It was 5s instead of 6s. And actually, from those 40 attacks, it was able to penetrate the toughness of the Myphitic Blight Hauler and bring it down to 8 wounds. So, you're not thinking that that's crazy awesome, but considering that if they continue to chip away at this and take 1 or 2 wounds per turn, might turn out to be a different story at the end of this. So now I'm going to hop over. We're going to go into the tray for the fight that's going on here between the Beast of Nurgle and the Von Rhein's Leapers. I'm going to be seeing if this thing's toughness can be relied on to let it survive this fight. And the Von Rhein's Leapers, as we've seen, are very good in hand-to-hand combat. If they don't kill this thing outright, though, it is going to be able to regenerate wounds. And I also want to get into the Gift of Nurgle with this thing on the dice camera, and we'll figure out what contagion is going to be affecting the Von Rhein's Leapers as they attack, and if they are counterattacked, what happens there as well. Okay, so pretty interesting. Just over at the dice tray here. The Beast of Nurgle actually does not get the Nurgle's Gift because it's a demon model, but the Von Rhein's Leapers are still within 3 inches of the Demon Prince, so they are going to be affected by the contagion. What I'm doing here is going to be the Skull Squirm Blight. So each time a model in this unit makes an attack, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So I'm hoping that's going to be less attacks coming in on the Beast of Nurgle. And then also there's the -1 to their toughness. So if it is able to fight back, it's going to be able to hopefully do better damage. And then the Beast of Nurgle has the ability Grotesque Regeneration. So at the end of each phase, if a Beast of Nurgle model in this unit has lost any wounds but is not destroyed, that model regains all of its lost wounds. And this thing starts with 7. So it's very possible that it's going to be around for quite a while. And it has a toughness of 9. So we're going to get to this right away. It's going to be, you know what, I'm going to use white dice. It's going to be 18 attacks here. These are all healthy Von Rhein's Leapers. Just going to check, make sure that this is in frame too. Yeah, you guys can see that. So it's usually a 3+. This is going to be a 4+ because of the Nurgle's Gift that is 3 inches away. The butt of the Demon Prince, you might have farted out some sort of onion miasma or something and got it on the Von Rhein's Leapers. I don't know, but 4+ is here for the Leaper's Talons. Usually 3, but they're taking a penalty because of that. And it's crazy, but it actually helps immensely. So a bunch of these attacks would have gone through. There we go. So that's affecting them. And then this is a strength 5 versus toughness 9. So they're going to need 5 to wound here. And Nurgle actually, or Tyranid actually rolled pretty well last turn there with all their shoots. And not as good this time, but still through. It's a -1 to AP. So this is going to be a 5+ save for the Beast of Nurgle with its invulnerable. And ooh, it has taken 3 wounds, so it's down to 4. However, they were not able to kill it, so that means that, I'm just going to change its token. It's going to be able to fight back and then also regenerate back to 7 wounds at the end of this turn. So I'm just going to double check all that stuff, make sure we're good to go, and we'll be right back with the Beast of Nurgle's counterattack. Okay, so just checking everything to make sure that we're good. Everything looks good to go. So the Beast of Nurgle was not slain there. It is coming back with Putrid Appendages, which is 6 attacks hitting on a 4+. Wow, very good roll there too. So only 1 fell off. We have 4, 4, 6, 6, 5. This is strength 6 versus toughness 5, so 3s to wound. Actually, toughness 4 because of the Nurgle's Gift. So it usually has a toughness 5, the Von Rhein's Leaper, but it's being affected by that contagion, so it's down to a toughness of 4. Not going to make a huge difference here, but in the future, if they're fighting things like termagants, barbglance, stuff like that, it's going to help immensely. So it is hitting on a 3+ still. So a few more fell off there. -1 to AP. This brings the Von Rhein's Leaper from its 4+ to a 5+. Save both. So that's double 6s. It would have been 2 damage per. A lot of stuff's going to happen here, so I'm going to sum everything up because that Nurgle's Gift is going to become a 6-inch diameter, so a lot of these things are going to be affected now. And I also have to switch the Beast of Nurgle back up to its full 7 wounds because it was not killed during this turn. So I'm going to do all that, come back, kind of sum up what happened there, and then get over to the Death Guard movement. All right, just going to sum up that Tyranid turn. So the Myphitic Blightholler down to 8 wounds. Really hoping for better rolls this time with it because I'm going to try to keep shooting into the Turbogon, try to maybe get some distance there. These Death Shroud Terminators might jump the wall and start to do some hand-to-hand combat because that is where they are best. The Beast of Nurgle is up to 7 wounds again with its regeneration ability. The Demon Prince that's down to 9 wounds is probably in range, so I might rush that Screamer Killer and definitely see what this guy can do in hand-to-hand combat. So I'm going to do a bit of strategy. We'll get the movement down, come back, show you guys that. And also Nurgle's gift has expanded here. So it's now a 6-inch diameter around the demon prints, around the Death Shroud Terminators, and around the Mythic Blightholler. So it's going to get very interesting. This force, even though not big and quite expensive at 490, their staying power is going to be incredible. So they might be around longer than any force. And again, I don't want to jinx anything, but these guys might have the ability to actually take out every single Tyranid model here if they get good rolls. So over to their move. I'll be right back, show you guys what's happened, and we'll take it from there. So not too many models to move on the Death Guard side. The Demon Prince actually has an 8-inch movement, so it was able to just get in range there with the Screamer Killer, and it is locked in hand-to-hand. Demon Prince at 9 wounds, Screamer Killer at 8 wounds, and if this Demon Prince can kill this thing, he's going to be able to just mess up this entire side of the table by himself. The Beast of Nurgle, no ranged attack, so I decided to go in again with the hand-to-hand combat, and it's got the Contagion now with 6 inches, as does the Demon Prince, so that means that the Screamer Killer has been affected by whichever Contagion I select, and the Von Ryan Sleepers will be as well. The Blightlord Terminators, I forgot that they only move 5 inches, so I kind of like popped them up over the wall and down, so they just did a jump. That was their move. They do have their Bile Spurt Gauntlets though, so they'll be able to fire that into the Ripper Swarms, I think, this time to kind of get that kill tally up, because they haven't actually killed any models yet. And the Mythic Blightholler moved back a couple inches to see if I can get that Melta 2 ability. And he's going to be firing it into the Turvagon. And again, if for some reason this Mythic Blightholler can take the Turvagon out, then the side of the table for the Tyranid here is in trouble as well. So I'm going to get to that right now. We're going to do the shoots. I'll do them off camera. Come back, show you guys the outcome of that. And then I definitely want to roll in the dish on camera for the hand-to-hand combats going on to see how that all shakes out. So I'll be right back with the result of the shoots for the Death Guard. Death Guard shoot has concluded. The Mythic Blightholler did some pretty good damage actually to the Turvagon. It is down from 16 to 13 wounds. That's from a crack missile shot that went in. I made a mistake. These guys are Plague Burst Gauntlets, and then this thing has the Bile Spurt. So tons of names to remember for the Death Guard. But yeah, I was able to fire. I was really hoping it was going to get its Melta rolls, because I have the Melta 2 right now, as this is cut in half for multi-Melta. So with the Melta 2, if it's half the range of its usual attack, it gets a bit more power, but I was not able to roll high enough to actually wound. So the hits both went through, the wounds did not, but the Turvagon is down to 13 wounds. I also did the Contagion to lessen the save of the enemy models. That was not the case here, because they're with outside of 6 inches. However, it did work down here with the Death Shroud Terminators, so they fired with their Plague Spurt Gauntlets and put it into the Ripper Swarms. They're able to kill one base and bring another base down to 1 wound. And that's because the Screamer Killers usually have a 6+ save against that, but because of the Contagion, they had to make a 7, which they couldn't do. That's also going to come into effect with this hand-to-hand as well, because that's what I've activated. So the Beast of Nurgle is going to be attacking with the initiative this time against the Von Ryan Sleepers. And they're going to have a 1 subtracted from their usual save. So if there's an AP that comes in, they might be up when they're invulnerable. We'll have to see. And then it's going to happen as well for the Screamer Killer here too, because the Death Guard Demon Prince has that Contagion ability as well. So when it is making its saves, it's going to be -1 to its usual save roll. So we're going to get over the tray. I want to get these going right now, see how these guys do in hand-to-hand combat, and I'll be right back with that. All right, roll time for the Beast of Nurgle. That Contagion is called Rattle Joint Ag, or Egg, by the way, so A-G-U-E. And that's what's diminishing the save on these Tyranid models. But this is going to be the Putrid Appendages, 6 attacks coming in at 4+. Oh no, I thought I saw a couple more 4s. So 3 or through though, 50%. It's a minus, or a strength 6 versus toughness 4 right now, because the Von Ryan Sleepers have a minus to their toughness due to the Gift of Nurgle as well. So this is hitting on wounding on a 3+. There's a 2 in the corner there. I don't know if you guys saw that. So 2 are through. -1 to AP. This brings our Von Ryan Sleeper up to a 5+, but because of that Rattle Joint Ag, it is a 6+ save, which is it's invulnerable. So they need to make these, and if it is not saved, it's 2 damage per. So looking for 6s for the Von Ryan Sleeper. And both are through. So that is 2, 4. The Beast of Nurgle has killed one of the Von Ryan Sleepers. and it has wounded another. So I'm going to get that token all set up, and then it's back over to the Von Rein's Leapers for their counterattack. All right, so this is Von Rein's Leapers with their counterattack. The Beast of Nurgle just had 1 killed and 1 brought down to 2 wounds. The other is full, so they have 12 attacks coming in here, hitting on a 3+. Very good roll. So only 1 fell off there. It is a 3+. So strength 5 versus toughness 9. However, they need 5s to wound here. And not a great roll that time for them. So we had 2 go through, a 5 and a 6. And it looks like this Beast of Nurgle is probably going to be coming back with its full wounds again. So this is a 5+ save. There we go. And 2 damage has gone through, bringing it down to 5 wounds, but it is back up to 7 already because it survived that attack and nothing killed it. Over to the Screamer Killer and the Demon Prince here in just a sec to see how that goes. Okay, so over to the Demon Prince of Nurgle here. I had to look at both profiles. He's got a Hellforged weapon, so there's a strike that has 7 attacks at 8 strength, 3 damage. There is the sweep of that at 14 attacks, 6 strength, 1 damage. It's going to be 5s no matter what, because the Screamer Killer has a toughness of, actually it's got a toughness of 8 because of that. So I'm going to switch this out. I'm actually going to do, because this is going to have a better chance of killing it, rolling 4s here. So I'll show you guys what I'm doing here. So I've switched it out. I was going to do the sweep, which would have been 14, but less damage. So I don't think this would have killed it. I want to finish the Screamer Killer off in 1 go. So I'm going to be using the Hellforged weapon strike. It is 7 attacks, hitting on a 2+. Those 1s are killer. Okay, so that's gone. Those 2 are out. It is strength 8 though versus toughness 8. So the Screamer Killer usually has a toughness of 9, but because of that contagion and the Gift of Nurgle, it's down to an 8 because it's got a bunch of flies flying around it, going in and outside of its breathing vents in its mouth and its eyes. So this is going to be 4s to wound. Another shitty roll. So 2, 2, 3. So only 2 have gone through. Maybe I should have stuck with the 14. I'll remember this for next time. It is -2 to AP. The Screamer Killer does not have an invulnerable, so this goes up to a 4+, but it's actually a 5+ because of the Rattle Joint AG that I gave it. So we're looking for 5s here for the Screamer Killer. And it did not save either. So the Demon Prince has done some great damage to it. That is 3, 6 damage. The Screamer Killer is down to 2 wounds. It is going to be able to fight back here. And we're going to see if the Demon Prince can withstand those attacks coming back. But so far, it's not looking great for the Screamer Killer or the Tyranid because that's their, their queen on the board if you're playing chess. So I'll be right back and get those tokens set, and then we'll see what the Screamer Killer does to rebut. All right, so nice and quick. The Screamer Killer's down to 2 wounds. Our Demon Prince still has 9. So this is going to be the Screamer Killer Talons, 10 attacks hitting on a 3+. And a very shitty roll by the Tyranid there. So that's going to help greatly. So a lot fell off. Well, 50% fell off. So there's still quite a few. It's coming in at strength 10. So strength 10 versus toughness 12, though. This Demon Prince, wow. That's one of the strongest models I think we've seen in here from an enemy force. Yeah, that's pretty incredible. So this is going to be 5s to wound here for the Screamer Killer. And none of them went through. So this is that staying power that I mentioned of the Death Guard and Nurgle. So it just got 5 attacks through. It needed 5s to be able to wound due to that crazy high toughness of the Demon Prince. None are through, so that combat is concluded. And it's moving back over to the Tyranid here. But that Contagion Ring as of next turn is going to get bigger for the Death Guard. So we'll see if they can survive a whole bunch of attacks again here. And we'll get that going in just a sec. So I'll move my Tyranid and show you guys what's going on with that. Okay, that is the end of the Tyranid turn. The Hive Mind is not stupid. It is seeing that its Tyranid are getting pretty much destroyed by this Nurgle's Gift Contagion. So it's had all of its troops move back to be outside of the range of that 6 inches. Next turn, it's going to be 9. So we'll see what the Demon Prince does. And some of these models might be back into the Contagion range. Since the Beast of Nurgle does not have it, actually, they might still be affected because they're close enough to the Demon Prince, but the Von Ryan Sleepers have gone in against the Beast of Nurgle to see if they can maybe finally finish it off. The Ripper Swarms have stayed, Barbgons have stayed. The Von Ryan Sleepers here, as well as the Ripper Swarms, have gone in against the Death Shroud Terminators. They are going to be affected by that contagion, but they're trying it anyways. And as well, the Turvagon is also still going to be affected. So that's going to be a minus to toughness and a minus to save if they're able to fight back. So that's going to be very interesting to see. The Tyranid move is done though. All of the Termagant that were here cannot shoot because they would be shooting their big Turvagon mummy in the back, so they're not going to do that. I'm going to roll all the stuff off tray for the shoots, and then I'll come back and probably roll the hand-to-hand combat in the tray for the hand-to-hand combat, and we'll see how the Death Guard fare after that. Sum up that Tyranid shoot really quick. The Barbgons were actually in range to be able to put some firepower down on the Demon Prince, so they did that. The 10 Gargoyles, the 10 Termagants, the Screamer Killer, and the other 10 Termagants also fired. Nothing happened to Demon Prince. That toughness of 12 is insane. Nothing was penetrating. Everything else here is hand-to-hand combat, so there's no more shoots. I'm going to roll these on camera, and it is Tyranid initiative. So the Von Ryan Sleepers are going to be attacking. The Von Ryan Sleepers are going to be attacking over here, and the Turvagon is going to be fighting the Mythic Lighthauler. I don't know if I'll record all of them in the tray, because that might take a while, but I definitely want to get this one on there, I think. So I might shoot this one first for you guys, and then I'll just sum up the other two and see what happens. And I have a feeling that this Beast of Nurgle is going to be back again with the full 7 wounds at the end of the turn, but we will see what happens. So over to the tray for that, and I'll sum everything else up after that's done. Back here for hand-to-hand combat. Some of that phase is already done, and I'll sum that up in a sec here. So far, no Nurgle Death Guard models have been lost. This is the Von Ryan Sleepers and Ripper Swarms versus the Death Shroud Terminators. So Ripper Swarms are up first with their chitinous claws and teeth, and it is 6 attacks each, hitting on a 5+. Those are through. It is strength 2 though versus toughness 7. So 6 is here. And actually, the Tyranid have not been rolling badly. It's just they can't penetrate that toughness. So there's 2 6s there. This is 0 to AP, so our Death Shroud Terminators do have a 2+ save. Oh my god. So that's 1 damage from a Ripper Swarm to a Death Shroud Terminator. That's pretty crazy. So I'm just going to have to make sure that that's tracked. So one of them is down to 3 wounds. Now it's over to the Von Ryan Leaper, so I'll just collect up all the dice needed for that. It's going to be 18 attacks. So let's go here. There we go. And it's hitting on a 3+. So a lot of those are through. This is going to be a little bit nastier. The Ripper Swarm's got a lucky one in them. That's pretty crazy. Strength 5 versus toughness 7. So this is going to be 5 to wound. And some more pretty good rolls in there. Got some 6s there. That's wild. Okay, so we'll move these out. It is -1 to AP, bringing our Death Shroud Terminators up to a 3+. And they've saved it all. So 4, 5, 5, 6. And now it is back over the Death Shroud. So I'm just going to make sure that all their tokens are accurate. And we're going to see what these Death Shroud can do back to the Von Ryan Sleepers and Ripper Swarms. Okay, so it is time for the Death Shroud counterattack here. Man Reaper, I'm using the Strike, just better strength. So it's 4 attacks each, hitting on a 2+. So this is 12 attacks in total. And there is a -1 to toughness here because of that contagion, and a -1 to their save as well. So I'm hoping that this is going to be the end of the Von Ryan Sleepers. I'm putting these attacks towards them, so hitting on a 2+. Okay, one fell off. My wife's singing up there. I don't know if you guys can hear. Really singing nice in that. Strength 8 versus toughness 5. This is 3s to actually versus toughness 4. So this is 2s to wound. This is when this becomes super important. So the Von Ryan Sleepers usually have that toughness of 5. With the Nurgle's Gift Contagion, it is a -1 to their toughness. So that brings them to a toughness 4, strength 8. So this is 2s to wound now. And 4 1s. Jeez Louise, you'd think it would be better. Anyways, I'm glad I went with that profile. -2 to AP, that brings the Von Ryan Sleepers up to a 6+. But actually with that contagion, they're not able to save. So it'll be 7+ because they've been weakened by that. So the Ripper Swarms did get that lucky hit in on the Death Shroud Terminators. This, however, I think is the end of our Von Ryan's Leapers and maybe even a Ripper Swarm because it is 2 damage per. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 damage. That has killed all 3 of the Von Ryan's Leapers and some of the Rippers as well. So I'm just going to add that all up, and I'll kind of total that all up and sum it all up when I see you guys on the camera in just a sec. So a pretty fantastic round there for the Nurgle Death Guard during their hand-to-hand combat. The Von Ryan's Leaper went down, and the Beast of Nurgle is back up to its 7 wounds. Over here, you guys just saw on the tray, the Death Shroud Terminator killed an entire section of Von Ryan's Leapers. One was weakened at 2 wounds, and then it also killed 2 bases of Ripper Swarms. So that is a full Von Ryan's Leaper section plus a full section of Ripper Swarms finished off by these guys. The Mythic Blightholder is having a little bit of a harder time, but if the Death Shroud Terminator want to turn around and give it a hand in hand-to-hand combat, that might help immensely. This is going back over to the Tyrannid. And actually, no, that was the Tyrannid turn. That was their initiative. So this is actually going back over to the Death Guard now. And the Gift of Nurgle is now at its full 9 inches. So anything that's 9 inches away from these models is going to be infected by whichever contagion I assign it, and that -1 to toughness. So very slow and methodical, kind of as the lore would predict for these guys. But they are definitely getting the kill tally up slowly but surely. And we're going to move over to their movement phase right now, and I will sum that up in just a sec. So that's the end of the Death Guard turn, and yeah, when they always have such a successful counterattack, I kind of think that it was their turn, but that was actually the Tyrannid turn previously, and they were able to do all of that damage and kill tally on the Tyrannid turn. So the Beast of Nurgle has moved in again here to face off against the lone Von Ryan's Leaper. The contagion also has spread to 9 inches now around each model, and it'll be 9 inches until the end of the game, which is going to be affecting that -1 to toughness. And then I think I'm also going to be doing -1 to hit rolls as well. Over here as well, the Demon Prince has gone in again. He was just in range to get into hand-to-hand combat, 8 inches out. So the contagion here as well has spread 9 inches around. So the Screamer Killer is also affected by that. Any term against it will be shooting in the next phase, anything like that, it's going to be locked in. The Death Shroud Terminators decided to go after these Barb Gaunts because they do have the ability to get some pretty good shots in. The contagion is also affecting them, and they're going to be shooting with their Plague Spurt Gauntlets because they were just outside of range of hand-to-hand. And then over here, the Mythic Blightholder moved up about 5 inches, half of its normal turn, to be able to put some rounds down on the Turvagon. It is definitely within its Melta 2 range. So I'm hoping with the contagion that's going on that it's going to actually do some extra damage here. We'll see if it can penetrate and punch through the Turvagon. And also this is helping it because it's moving away from the spore mines that are coming in behind and floating. And yeah, if this Turvagon goes down and the Screamer Killer goes down, I don't know if there's any models left for the Tyrannid. They can actually face off and take out the Death Guard. So I'm going to move to the shoot for the Death Guard. I will do that off camera, come back, show you guys what they've done, and then we'll move into hand-to-hand combat after that. Nurgle Death Guard shoot is done. Fantastic turn by the Mythic Blightholder. I just wish I had gotten my other Melta shot. So this is within range. It was a Melta 2. The Turvagon, after receiving the shots from the Melta, is down to 8 wounds. There was nothing else actually allocated to it. The crack missiles did not hit, and the bile spurt didn't even roll. But that Melta alone took off more wounds, and it's down to 8. So if this thing can stick in a little bit longer, that Turvagon's getting really close for hand-to-hand. It might be able to kill the Turvagon, which would be the very first army to ever do that, but we will see. Down here, the Death Shroud fired with their Plague Burst Gauntlets, or Bile Burst, I forget which one's which, but Plague Burst, and they were able to kill one of the Barb Gaunts. The Barb Gaunts as well as the Turvagon were both affected by that contagion, so their toughness had been subtracted by 1. Moving over to the tray now, we are going to get these rolled, Von Ryan's Leaper and the Demon Prince of Nurgle. I might actually roll this one off camera just to shorten up this video because the last one was 1 hour 15, and if this is going to go as long as I think it might, we'll try to cut it as much as we can. So over to the dice tray for the rolls that I want to show you guys. think I forgot to mention, but it's the Skull Scorn Blight as the contagion here. So not just -1 to toughness, but also a subtract 1 for hit roll. So that came into play with the Von Ryan's Leaper that just fought against the Plague Beast. It is still alive, but it was not able to get a roll off because of the higher hit roll required. So now we are going to see this is the Demon Prince of Nurgle with the ability to very possibly kill the Screamer Killer with the initiative here. And then if it is able to fight back, it's going to have the contagion against it. So I'm using the Hellforged weapons again here, the strike profile. So this is going to be 7 attacks hitting on a 2+. All are through except for 1. This is a -2 toughness by 1. So this is a strength 8 versus a toughness 8, which makes a huge difference. It's going to be force to wound. Oh my gosh. That's a great roll. 3 6s, 2 5s, and a 4. All of them are through. It is -2 to AP. The Screamer Killer does not have an invulnerable, so this is up to a 4+. It was able to save a few, so there's 6 6 5. Actually, it saved them all. So that's actually a pretty damn good roll by the Screamer Killer. The other contagion would have actually had this thing trying to make a higher save, but that was not what I called this time. So it is back over to the Screamer Killer now. We'll do that on camera so you guys can see it live. Let's get in the dice here. So it is going to be a -1 to the hit though, but the Screamer Killer is still alive and it's fighting back here. So it is going to be a 4+. So 4+ here to hit. Usually a 3. And that means a lot fell off because all these 3s would have been through originally, so only 1 is through. It is a -2 to AP. That brings our Demon Prince up to a 4+ invulnerable, and he did save it. So the Screamer Killer has survived, and so has the Demon Prince. It is going to be going back over to the Tyranid here in just a sec, and we're going to see what they do. Okay, so Tyranid move is done. Interesting move here. The Tervagon has gone into the Myphitic Blightholder to try to take it out. It is going to be affected by that contagion, but it's going to have the initiative here, so its strength might be high enough to puncture through the Myphitic Blightholder, but that thing is super strong for a small model. Over here, it's going to be tricky. So the Barbgaunts are still affected. Didn't want to lose their heavy ability. The Ripper Swarms have moved in as well. They'll be affected a bit also, but there's enough rounds coming down on these guys that it might be okay to possibly get some wounds. I don't want to say kill them because I'm not sure that's going to happen, but the Barbgaunts, the Ripper Swarms, and the Gargoyles are all going to be firing at the Death Shroud Terminators. The Gargoyles are not going to be affected. They're outside of that contagion range. And my Biovore down here, I'm not going to fire a Spore Mine with it this time. It's actually going to use its artillery ability. Spin it there, so it's still going to get its heavy. It's just did a bit of a rotation, and it's going to put some fire down on them too. The Spore Mines floated a little bit here, 3 inches closer towards the Myphitic Blightholder, and it's going to have to be careful because if those do explode, that might do some damage. Over here, the Beast of Nurgle is in hand-to-hand combat with the Parasite of Mortrex, the Warlord for the Tyranid, and a Von Ryan's Leaper. And they are not going to be affected by the contagion because the Beast of Nurgle does not have it. And the Demon Prince is outside of 9 inches, so it's not affecting. And then on this side as well, the Hive Mind has told all of its skittering troops and the Screamer Killer to move back to keep the Demon Prince out of that 9-inch contagion range. So they're going to be putting some fire down on him. And the battle may be switching over to the Tyranid side because this has been going Death Guard for quite a while. And it might switch here, but we will see. Going to roll all the shoots off camera. And then I'll probably roll this one on camera with the Tervagon's initiative against the Myphitic Blightholder. And then this one as well with the 2 Tyranid models against the Beast of Nurgle. So off for the shoots. I'll come back and sum all that up for you guys in just a sec. Tyranid shoot concluded for that turn. So one of the Death Shroud was brought down to 1 wound. And that was from the Biovore. It did its attack and was able to get some wounds off there. The Barbgaunts all fired. The Ripper Swarms fired, but they were both really penalized due to that contagion, so nothing happened. And then the Gargoyles also fired in all 10, and they did not have the strength to be able to penetrate. But that Biovore did do the trick there, and it brought this down to 1 wound for the Death Shroud on the left. So now we're going to be over to the tray to roll this one. And I still have to do the shoot for this actually. So we'll do that, and then I'll sum it all up there. That's the only hand-to-hand. So I'll see how the Demon Prince does, and I'll sum all that up after the hand-to-hand combat, or maybe when we're on camera for that, let you guys know how that went. All right, so just sum up here really quick for the end of that shoot. The Screamer Killer was not able to do any damage, but the 20 shots came in from the Termagants, and they were able to do 1 wound. So the Demon Prince is down to 8 wounds. Just going to keep this rolling here live. We're going to go to the dice tray. This is the Parasite of Mortrex fighting against the Beast of Nurgle. It is 6 attacks with the clawed limbs, hitting on a 3+ because of the minus to hit. So pretty good roll there, even with the penalty. It's strength 5 versus toughness 9, so you're going to need 5s to wound here. And another very good roll from the Parasite of Mortrex. So that's a -1 to AP. It's bringing our Beast of Nurgle up to the 5+ invulnerable. It doesn't have a great save, so let's see what happens here. And it got a very good roll in return, so it saved everything. It's going to happen over to the Von Ryan's Leaper now. I'll just keep this rolling while we do that. 1 Von Ryan's Leaper remaining, and it is going to be 6 attacks coming in penalized again. So usually this is hitting on, actually no, because it doesn't have the contagion ability. So scratch that. This is going to be coming in at full hits, so that's a 3+. And 2 fell off. So that previous one was fine too because the rolls were high enough. Strength 5, toughness 9. It's going to be 5s to wound. And 2 are through. -1 to AP. This brings the Beast of Nurgle back up to that 5+. This time it did not save, so that's 2 wounds that have gone through. However, we know our Beast of Nurgle can regenerate, so it is down to 5 wounds for the moment. It'll be back up to 7 in a second, and it's going to be counterattacking as well. All right, time for the Beast of Nurgle's counterattack here. Putrid Appendages, 6 attacks, hitting on a 4+. 3 of those are through. -1 to AP, sorry, strength 6 versus toughness 5, 3s to wound. 2 are through there. -1 to AP, this is a 5+ from the Von Ryan's Leaper. Saved 1. It did not save the other. That Von Ryan's Leaper is dead, and the 2 sections have fallen. The rest of those wounds fall off. The Parasite of Mortrex still lives, and the Beast of Nurgle is back up to its 7 wounds. So we're going to check out the Turvagon here in just a sec versus the Myphitic Blightholder, and we'll get that going right away. Okay, time for the Turvagon here. Very possible this might be the end of the Myphitic Blightholder, but it has a very high toughness, as we've seen, so we'll see if this does anything. And also the to hit roll is going to be higher as well because of that contagion that's going on. So starting off with the Turvagon Massive Crushing Claws, usually hitting on a 4+. This is now a 5+. And you got 2 through. It is strength 12 against toughness 9, so that's going to be 3s to wound. Both are through. We have a 5 and a 6. -3 to AP. The Myphitic Blightholder comes up to its 5+ and vulnerable. And it made both. So those Crushing Claws can do D6+1, which may have killed this thing outright, but it was able to save both. The Turvagon is not done though. It still has its Massive Scything Talons, and I think this time I'm going to do the 4 attacks there to get a higher strength out of it. So these usually hit on a 3+. It's hitting on a 4+ because of the contagion. Woof. And this is why these Nurgle are tough to kill. Like, they got a lot of stuff in place for that. So this is going to be strength 9 versus toughness 9, 4s to wound. It is a 6, so that is through. To -2 to AP, that brings the Myphitic Blightholder up to its 5+ again. And it saved it again. So that could have been another D6 damage if that wasn't saved. So the Myphitic Blightholder is going to be fighting back here. And it has its Gnashing Maw. So now we're rolling for the Myphitic Blightholder. It is a 3+ to hit. All of those are through. They're rolling super well. Strength 6 versus toughness 10, because the Turvagon has the contagion going on. So this is going to be 5s to wound. And nothing through there, but the Myphitic Blightholder is still going, and it was able to, I don't want to say brush off the Turvagon, but kind of fight it off. So back over to the Death Guard now, and we're going to see what happens here. Because, this battle is going long again, but it's just the way it is. And I want to make sure that we're following the lore here, making sure that these Nurgle and Death Guard are fighting the way they're supposed to. So very, very, very good scrap. I don't think I need to sum up. That might save some time, and we'll cover their move here in just a sec. Okay, we'll start over here with the Death Guard move. So the Demon Prince has closed the gap there. It's going to be putting some firepower onto the Screamer Killer, and everything around it is affected right now by the contagion. I'm going to turn it into the -1 to save this time around, since this is the Death Guard turn. So it's going to be -1 to save for any models that get hit. Over here, the Beast of Nurgle didn't like the Parasite of Mortrex, so it sort of scurried away from it. It does not have the contagion ability around it, so anything that's going to be firing at it or it gets into hand-to-hand combat with won't be able to really have the minus save. It also doesn't have a range, so it's just going to be sitting there this turn, and I think it's far enough away that the Parasite won't be able to get into hand-to-hand with it, but we'll see. Over here, the Death Shroud Terminators went right in against the Barbagons. They were tired of getting barb launchers in the face, so they're going to cut them up and see what happens. So that's going to be a good scrap. And then over here, the Tervagon got beat, so it was knocked back to its original spot. And the Myphitic Blightholler is going once again try to put all of its firepower into it. Hopefully get a good melter roll and maybe by some chance kill the Tervagon, because it's definitely possible of doing it if it can get good enough rolls. So I'm going to do a lot of that off camera. I think this time we'll do everything off camera, and I'll come back and show you guys the outcome of everything. And then it'll be back over to the Tyranid here for what's going to be their turn, but I don't think they have too much left here. If some of these things go down in this turn, the Death Guard might take this one, so we'll see. Be back in a sec. Death Guard shoot in hand-to-hand is done. The Demon Prince was not able to do anything this time to the Screamer Killer. It is still alive with 2 wounds, and he has 8. It's switching back over to the Tyranid here soon, but that contagion is still in effect. Over here, the Beast of Nurgle couldn't do anything. It does not have a ranged attack, and it's probably going to be facing the onslaught of these gargoyles in just a sec, but they don't have very high strength weapons, and it has a very high toughness, so we'll see. Over here, I decided to switch up the profile of the Man Reaper, and I did the sweep. It was 24 attacks, and I rolled super well with them, and it killed all of the remaining Barbagons. But the biggest thing that happened was the Myphitic Blightholler got some very good rolls, and it was actually able to kill the Tervagon with that Melta 2 ability. So this is the very first force in Last Stand that is taking on the Tyranid that has killed the Tervagon. This thing still has 8 wounds and an incredible toughness. I don't know if there's anything on this side of the table that's going to be able to take it out, and the Tervagon has fallen. So it's back over to the Tyranid here. I'm going to have to play it super smart with them because the contagion is still in play. These Death Guard are very close to a lot of units, so they might be affecting some. So I might have to clear some units outside of that contagion range to be able to get their hit rolls back, their wounds, their save rolls, all that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens. Nowhere really else on the side of the table to go either for the Tyranids, so they're kind of stuck unless the Termagants can kind of wheel out, try to get in behind. But right now, guys, I'm not going to lie, this looks like it might be the first force to ever take out the entire Tyranid army. If you guys are playing Death Guard, I would suggest keeping distance, like as far as you possibly can. Hit them with very high strength, long range weapons like artillery, tanks, las cannons. The Tyranid just didn't have that loadout when I selected this as their roster. Some pretty good hand-to-hand stuff, but their weapons are not very strong. So the Death Guard seem to be perfect Tyranid killers. The battle is not over yet, but right now I'm not seeing who can actually take these guys out. So I'm going to switch it back over to the Tyranid here, and we'll see what they do. These Spore Mines are also getting close. That might actually float in and explode in behind the Myphitic Blightholler. We'll see if that can strip some wounds off. And then the Biovore here does have a bit of a higher strength attack, so he might be putting that onto the Myphitic Blightholler or onto the Death Shroud Terminators, mattering the range there. But if this Screamer Killer goes down and they lose a couple more units that have a bit higher strength weapons, this might be going over the Death Guard, and they may take first spot away from the Adeptus Custodes. So I'm going to go do that now, come back, sum it up, and we'll see how this one keeps on going. Tyranid move's done. I was just doing some measurements there to make sure that these guys aren't within 9 inches of the demon prince because they'd be hit by that contagion, so they're okay. They're going to be firing into the Beast of Nurgle here. The parasite does not have a ranged attack, but it's in behind there to try to get in. The Ripper Swarms have stayed back. They're still in the contagion range. They're going to try to put some of those little shots in on the Death Shroud. The Biovore is also going to fire into them. Over here, I don't want to say too concerning, but the Spore Mine is floated in. It is within 3 inches from base to base, so it is going to explode with the floating death. We'll roll that in the tray. And then over here, there wasn't much point in moving the Tyranids, so they're all still affected by the contagion, but they're going to be putting all of their shots onto the Demon Prince to see what happens. I still see this going Death Guard, but we'll see what happens here. Maybe I'm going to get some really good rolls for the Tyranid, but we'll do the floating death first, and then I'm going to roll everything else off camera and come back and sum up the entire shoot phase for the Tyranid. Okay, so we've done floating death a few times, but if you guys are new to the videos here, this is an automatic attack that happens when a Spore Mine gets within 3 inches of an enemy model. In this case, it is the Myphitic Blight Hauler. So I hope I've been calling it that the whole game. Myphitic Blight Hauler? I'm pretty sure. Because there's fetid bloat drones too, but that's definitely not a fetid bloat drone. Anyways, so what we're looking for here is a roll of d6. On a 2 to 5, the enemy suffers 1 mortal wound, and on a 6, the enemy will suffer d3 mortal wounds. So if we're cheering for the Tyranid, we want a 6. If you guys are cheering for the Death Guard, you want a 1. So let's see how they do. It is a 2, so that's going to be 1 mortal wound delivered. The Spore Mine has exploded, and the Myphitic Blood Hauler goes from 8 wounds down to 7 wounds. That sums up the Tyranid turn. So the shoots just happened, and the 20 Termagants were not able to do anything. The Screamer Killer did its Bioplasmic Scream and was able to strip 4 wounds off the Demon Prince. So the Demon Prince has 4 wounds. Screamer Killer has 2. It's going back over the Death Guard here in just a sec. The Gargoyles put all of their shots into the Beast of Nurgle. Nothing happened. Way too high a toughness. Down here, the Ripper Swarms tried to fire into the Death Shroud. Nothing happened there either. The Myphitic Blight Hauler is still down here. It took 40 shots from the Termagants, and nothing happened to it. And the Biovore as well, I believe, fired into the Death Shroud, but they didn't get a good enough roll to get anything done there. So it's moving back over to the Death Guard now. And we're going to have to start planning here because I want to try to get this first victory ever for an allied force here. Well, they're not really allies, they're still enemies, but against the Tyranid. And it looks like the Death Guard are possibly going to be able to do that. So I'm going to go do their move, do some strategy here, make sure that what I'm doing makes sense, and then I'll be back to show you guys what's happened. Death Guard movement is done. That 9-inch Nurgle's Gift contagion is still in effect, and I believe I'm going to be using the -1 to save. So it is not looking good for the Tyranid right now. These Death Shroud Terminators, from what we've seen, should be able to absolutely shred Ripper Swarms apart. The Beast of Nurgle has gone in against their Warlord, the Parasite of Mortrex, and I don't think that Parasite's going to be able to survive either, but we will see. The biggest one here is the Screamer Killer. It has 2 wounds left. This is the initiative to the Demon Prince. It's getting all the penalties from the contagion as well as that -1 to save, and it has 2 wounds left. So if the Demon Prince can kill this thing, I think that might be game over because there's nothing out here that's got the strength to keep pummeling these guys. And then over here, the Myphitic Blight Hauler, great movement on it, 10 inches, moved right in between both of the Termagant broods. And they're within that 9 inches now for the contagion. It also escaped the lone Spore Mine that's still in the facility. So all of these here, mattering what he wants to shoot at, probably use a frag missile launcher, multi-meltas, whatever we're going to do. They all have -1 to their save. So this is not looking good. And I could also actually fire into the Biovore if I wanted. It might be in range. And in doing that, there would be no longer any long-range support for the Tyranid. So I'm going to move to the shoot here for the Myphitic Blight Hauler. I will roll it off camera, get some strategy going too to think about where I want to put all of its weapons into. And then we're going to move into hand-to-hand combat. I think I'm also going to roll the Death Shroud off camera, but I will roll the Demon Prince and the Screamer Killer to see what happens there. This might be the end of the Tyranid. We'll see. It's not looking good for them right now. Death Guard shoots done. Just do a really quick sum up there. The Myphitic Blight Hauler fired into this 20 section of termagants and killed a lot. There's 13 remaining, and it's just going to continue to pick these away because those flesh borers I don't think are going to be able to do too much. They might get some lucky rolls, but we'll see. Moving over to the Death Shroud Terminators now against the Ripper Swarms. Roll that off camera, come back, and then I'll roll the Demon Prince, and then come back and show you guys the outcome of both of those. But right now, this thing's down here solo, single-handedly taking out termagants left, right, and center. Yeah, we'll see how this battle rolls out. But over for the hand-to-hand combat, and then I'll be rolling for the Demon Prince on camera. Okay, we've had the hand-to-hand combat phase there by the Death Guard. Some that went up in just a sec, but this is the big deciding factor here. So there has been no force yet that has killed the Turvagon and the Screamer Killer. So this is the first time the Turvagon's gone down, and this might actually be the first time that both have been killed. So this is going to tell us what's going to happen. So I'm using the Hellforged Weapons Strike Profile, 7 attacks hitting on a 2+. The Screamer Killer's toughness is down to 8 from 9, and its save is also going to be affected by this too because of the contagion that I have in place for the Death Guard. So we're looking for 2s here for the Demon Prince. All are through. It is strength 8 versus toughness 8, which would be usually toughness 9, so this is 4s to wound. And 3 have gone through. -2 to AP, which brings the Screamer Killer up to a 4+ usually, but this is going to be a 5+ because of the contagion. So we're looking for 5s here for the Screamer Killer. And the Screamer Killer has died. So it made 1 save. It has 2 wounds remaining. So this is 3/6 damage from that strike. The Death Guard have moved into first place. They have killed both the Turvagon and the Screamer Killer. It's moving back over to the Tyrannid now, but I don't think there's much that they can do. So I'm going to sum up the rest of the Death Guard there in just a sec, and we're going to see how the rest of them plays out. Okay, so there it is. Victorious Demon Prince just defeated the Screamer Killer. The Turvagon went down earlier to the Myphitic Blight Hauler. The Death Shroud Terminators were able to wipe out all 3 of the Ripper Swarms. The Beast of Nurgle was able to bring the Parasite of Mortrix down to 3 wounds, and then it kind of bounced back after that. And then we saw earlier the Myphitic Blight Hauler was able to cut into this Termagant squad and bring them down to 13. So what I'm going to do here, I've never had to do this before. It's just in the consideration of time. I'm going to move back to the Tyrannid here. I'm going to do all of their shoot rolls. If there's any hand-to-hand, I'll do that as well. Come back and show you guys if there has been any wounds allocated to the Death Guard, if any. And then I will be going back and forth until this one is done. But as I've stated, I don't see the Tyrannid at this point being able to fight back. So I will fight the rest of this battle out. But I don't think they have a chance now. There's just not any weapons that are high enough strength and not enough models to take these guys down, especially with the contagions in play and stuff. So we're going to move back over to the Tyrannid here, and I will be back after several moves to show you guys what's happened and actually see if these Death Guard are going to beat every single Tyrannid model here. Be back in a bit. So I thought I'd get the camera rolling again here. These Tyrannid might not be done. Just finished their turn there, and they were able to get the Myphitic Blight Hauler down to 3 wounds with all of the shots coming in from the Termagants and from the Biovore. The Death Shroud Terminators, nothing happened to them. The Gargoyles fired in. This was actually a pretty good scrap here. The Beast of Nurgle is going to go back up to 7 wounds, but the Parasite of Mortrix was not wounded on the counterattack. So there's a possibility it might be able to kill that Beast of Nurgle. And then over here, I had the Termagants fire into the Demon Prince. Nothing happened there, but the Demon Prince is outside of range of getting into hand-to-hand here. The contagion will follow him, but there might be Termagants that are going to be able to run in behind and shoot him up, and he does only have 3 wounds after killing the Screamer Killer. So I'll keep moving. If there's anything that needs to be filmed here for the Death Guard, it's going back over to their turn, I will do that. If not, I'm just going to keep rolling here, doing the moves and shoots and any hand-to-hand that happens, and then come back and sum everything up. But the Tyrannid, right now, we're still hanging on. So we'll see if they can still maybe win this one, or if it'll go to a 100% Death Guard victory. So the last stand rages on, or I might want to say that this is the Tyrannid last stand. The Demon Prince killed 2 of the Termagants here. The Death Shroud Terminators killed 5 Gargoyles. The Beast of Nurgle is not in close enough range there for hand-to-hand. Down here, the Myphitic Blightholler fired into the Biovore, brought it down to 1 wound. The crazy thing here is there has not been one Nurgle Death Guard model killed yet throughout this whole battle. They haven't lost anybody. And this force started with 6 models. That's it. So one of the smallest forces, pretty high points at 490, still underneath that $500 limit or 500 point limit. The Death Shroud here is down to 1 wound, but he has continued to keep rolling. This thing probably would have died like 3 times by now, but since it has that ability to regenerate, it's been brought back up to 7 after every single attack. This is going back over to the Tyranid now. I don't know what I'm going to be able to do here, but we'll see. Maybe these Termagants are going to get lucky rolls. The Biovore might get a lucky roll, take out the Myphitic Blightholler finally. Maybe these Gargoyles will be able to kill that 1 Death Shroud. And then possibly the Parasite of Mortrex is going to be able to kill the Beast of Nurgle, but it's going to have to get 100% rolls. The Termagants back here are just in range, I think, to be able to fire, so we'll see what happens. And the Demon Prince is down to 3 wounds. So it's very possible that the Death Guard might be going down here. But I'll just continue to sum up the turns kind of like this to make sure that we have everything included. So the move, the shoot, and the hand-to-hand if it happens. And we'll see how this one ends. The Tyranid are really slowly picking these wounds away. I just don't know if they're going to have enough time to finish this one off. So the Myphitic Blightholler is down to 2 wounds. The Biovore has 1 left, though, and it's going back over to the Death Guard now. The Spore Mine, though, is getting very close, and that is very possible that it could kill the Myphitic Blightholler. We'll have to see. The Termagants all fired in as well and brought it down to its current wounds of 2. The Death Shroud Terminators were fired upon by the Gargoyles. Nothing happened. Not a high enough strength for those weapons. The Spore Mine is floating in behind there, getting closer again, but these guys will be moving ahead 5 inches, so it's probably going to take a while for that Spore Mine to catch up. The Parasite of Mortrex is still holding its own, so it was in here. It did 1 wound to the Beast of Nurgle, but it's back up to its 7 wounds. Parasite has 3. And then down here, the Termagants all fired. Got some pretty good rolls. They couldn't penetrate that toughness, but this guy is only down to 2 wounds left. So it's going to be the Death Guard here. I'm going to do their move, their shoot, any hand-to-hand, come back and show you guys what's happened to the Tyranid after that. So the Death Guard kill tally continues. The Death Shroud Terminators fired into the Gargoyles, killed them all. Hand-to-hand combat over here for the Demon Prince, was able to kill 5 Termagants. There are 3 remaining, with 10 at its back to fire into it next turn. Down here, another big model for the Tyranid went down. The Myphitic Blightholler was able to kill the Biovore. So we're going to keep chugging here. It's very possible that there might just be enough Termagants left and smaller models to just get lucky rolls to take these things out. The Spore Mine is also going to be exploding, so we'll be doing a floating death there. I might actually get that in the tray, because that could be the end of the Myphitic Blightholler if it rolls high enough. So we're going to keep moving here over to the Tyranid, and I'll just keep summing up these moves in big chunks to let you guys know how it goes, but that's the end of the past Death Guard turn, and back over to the Tyranid. Bit of a dead, squashed Termagant there right on the board. It's hilarious. I've seen that a couple times, but I wanted to put it in because that's what's been happening to the Tyranid this whole fight. Anyways, we're over the dice tray now. This might be the first time the Tyranid are actually going to kill one of these insane Death Guard models. So this is the Spore Mine, definitely within 3 inches of that Myphitic Blightholler after it floated. So this is floating death, looking for a 6 for the Tyranid, 1 for the Death Guard, or a 2 to 5 would also help, but the 6 would kill this thing possibly outright. So here we go. It is a 2, so that means that it's 1 mortal wound delivered to the Myphitic Blightholler. So the Myphitic Blightholler is still alive. The Spore Mine is gone. That's also added to the kill tally, and it is down to 1 wound. I had to turn the camera back on here. It's still the Tyranid shoot, but after the Spore Mine exploded, doing that 1 damage to the Myphitic Blightholler, the 33 remaining Termagants here were able to put their flesh spores onto it, and they finally killed it. So that is the first casualty for the Death Guard. These guys are way across the other side of the table, so they're going to have to start moving really quick to try to get over here to help fight these Death Shroud Terminators. And the shoots are still going to come in here, and it's possible that there might be enough here as well to finish off the Demon Prince, but we'll see. It's going to be very, very tight here. This has been a huge advantage for the Death Guard because of the size of this table, and just that contagion spreading has really affected the entire Tyranid army. So it's been very, very interesting to see how that works and all the mechanics behind the Death Guard. So it's still a Tyranid shoot. I'm going to go over and do that in the tray, come back, and I'll sum this one up really quick. And there's also the going to be hand-to-hand combat between the Parasite of Mortrex and the Beast of Nurgle. This thing also will not go down, so it might just still be cut around the board after it's killed all the Tyranids, so we'll see what happens. Over to the Tyranid though for the shoot against the Demon Prince. Some hand-to-hand, and we'll come back and sum this one up. These two continue to scrap in here. The Parasite is down to 1 wound. It is going back over to the Death Guard here, so I'm just going to get the move done while we're live. Demon Prince in against the Termagants. I might call this one because if I keep doing this, it's going to be like a 4-hour video because these guys don't move fast. So like they would move 5 inches, shoot, we'll have to see. All of these Termagant are still alive, however, so they would be able to move, 6 inches and to cover the entire table, get some shots on. I'll see. I might do it just off camera, get all of the stuff going. Gonna roll this, come back in just a sec and show you guys the outcome. Might as well keep filming and just finish it up, see how it goes, and try to keep it as tight and quick as I can. But I think I have a feeling that this is a long one. And it's just kind of the way that these Death Guard are made. It's almost like that serial killer and a murderer that in a movie that's coming at you like at super slow speed, but you just can't get away. And this table is only a certain size, so the Tyranid have been on the run the entire game. Quick sum up there for the Death Guard. The Death Shroud are just out of range, so they weren't able to shoot at the Termagant. The Demon Prince has finished off the 3 Termagant that were in front of it. He's turned his attention now over to the remaining 10 section of Termagant. These two continue to battle it out. So the Beast of Nurgle actually had the initiative. It went in, wasn't able to hit, and then the Parasite of Mortrex was able to fight back, but this thing's back up to 7 wounds. It's been regenerated. These Termagants are still all the way down here, so we're going to start moving them really quick to try to get some shots down. It is still possible, by some chance, that just some lucky rolls come in here and the Death Shroud can get finished as well as the Demon Prince. But then you have to worry about the Beast of Nurgle that's going to continue to regenerate wounds. So I'm going to move it over to the Tyranid here, and we'll see if they can maybe at least kill the Demon Prince before they go down, most likely to the Death Shroud. So do all their move and their shoot, any hand-to-hand, come back and show you guys the outcome of that. And this one keeps rolling along. Hell of a battle. Holy Dinah. These Termagant are starting to move. They're trying to cross that battlefield as quick as they can to help their buddies because they just lost their Warlord to the Beast of Nurgle. So the Warlord, Parasite of Mortrex, went in first. It was not able to wound. The Beast of Nurgle fought back and was able to kill it. It had 1 wound left. The Death Shroud Terminators are still here. The Termagants all fired into the Demon Prince, and it still has its 1 wound. So it's back over to the Death Shroud here and the Death Guard, and we're going to see what they do. I might actually turn these guys around and have them start going after the Termagants because they are also in here to kill whatever they can. So it makes sense because there's not too many enemies left over there. They're going to start flipping around and heading towards these 2 large sections, and they might be able to just finish them off completely. But there is a spore mine there, so they better be careful. Here we go. Termagant numbers continue to dwindle. The Demon Prince fired into the Termagants. There are now 6 of them left. 4 were killed. The Death Shroud are moving down the field slowly back towards the Termagant. This spore mine is probably going to get a floating death on them, though. It's going to just pop out and surprise them and explode. It's moving over the Death Guard here, but these Termagant are still... actually, it's moving to the Tyranid here, sorry, so the Termagant are going to be able to move and maybe get the Death Shroud in range and put some very weak... Well, the Flesh Borers, again, they're strength 5, so they've got a better chance than like las guns or even bolt guns probably of hurting these guys. But we're going to see, so the Tyranid are going to be moving here in just a sec, and we're going to really see how this one ends. It might end with a complete 100% Death Guard victory. They've only lost 1 model, the Mythic Blight Hauler, and they're still looking pretty strong. So we'll see what happens. All right, so this is pretty much the last push here for the Termagants. This is going to be the Floating Death. Looking for 6s for the Tyranid, 1s if you're Tyranid Death Guards. Let's see how it goes. 2 to 5 is also good, but trying to get as many wounds here as we can. It's a 5, so that is going to be 1 mortal wound. So they have killed the Death Shroud Terminator by blowing up the Spore Mine. So the Death Guard currently have the Mythic Blight Hauler as a casualty and 1 Death Shroud Terminator. I am going to be moving it over here in a sec, though, to do the Termagant shoot. A lot in range to put some more shots on the Death Shroud Terminators and also onto the Demon Prince. So we'll see what happens. I'll come right back and show you guys the outcome of that entire turn. Okay, so there's just not enough strength here, I don't think, left for the Tyranid to do any damage. So the Termagants here fired into the Demon Prince. Nothing was even able to hit him or wound him. Down here, we have the 13 Termagants fire into the Death Shroud. Same deal, they could not penetrate the Cataphracti Terminator armor. And then this section is just outside of range. So I'm going to be moving it back over here to the Death Guard. We're going to see what they can do. It's getting to be smaller and smaller in regards to the Tyranid force. So I'll be right back. We'll do everything that I can there for the Death Guard and show you guys how many Tyranid they killed in this turn. Absolutely insane, but I think what has started as the Death Guard last stand has turned into the Tyranid last stand. The Demon Prince killed the remaining 6 Termagants that were here with his ranged attack. The Death Shroud are still full wounds with 2 models. There is the Beast of Nurgle, and then the Termagants are down to 12 here now, plus the 20. So these are going to move. They're going to put all of their firepower probably onto the Beast of Nurgle because it can continue to regenerate. So they want to try to kill it off in one go if they're in range. I don't think there's enough here to be able to finish off the Death Guard. And what's really showing here is this Tyranid force made up of pretty good hand-to-hand combat, not able to penetrate the toughness, not enough strength weapons range-wise for sure to be able to do any damage to these Death Guard. So they continue to just roll right through. They've only lost 2 models, the Myphitic Blade Hauler and one of the Death Shroud Terminators. So I think this one's going to be finishing up pretty soon, and I have a feeling the Death Guard are going to be walking away with the victory. But the Tyranid here maybe have another couple turns. We'll see what they can do with their Flesh Borers. So yeah, hold on tight. Let's see how it goes. It took 33 shots from the Termagants, all on the Beast of Nurgle. They just got enough from that to be able to kill it. So this thing doesn't have a great save. It's got a 5+. And it has been killed. So they have to kill it in one turn. It regenerates. They're able to do that. However, the Death Shroud are still alive. There might be enough here to be able to finish them. They do have 8 wounds, though, and a much better save than the Beast of Nurgle. And then there's also the Demon Prince down here that has been a pain in the ass for the Tyranid the whole game. Still has 1 wound left. Moving back over here to the Death Guard, so we're going to see what they do. And this is going to probably come down to the next couple turns. I think this video is going to be super long, so apologies for that, guys. It's just the way that it worked out. And anyways, I hope you're enjoying it. It's been a lot of fun to shoot, and we'll see how it goes. So over to the Death Guard for their move. Death Shroud fired in there. They were able to kill 3 Termagants, but there's going to be 31-ish shots, 30 shots coming in on them now to see what those Termagants can do with the Flesh Borers. The Demon Prince is also trying to bust ass to get over here. He moves 8 inches, so he will be here soon enough. But right now it's going back over to the Tyranid to see what they're going to do, and they're going to be firing everything they have into these Death Shroud to hopefully kill them, or at least to weaken them up for their next couple turns. So those Tyranid are continuing to fight. They were able to do 1 wound to the Death Shroud with 29 shots. They are, however, now going to be facing them in hand-to-hand combat. So that is exactly 5 inches. I just measured it. They're right in there. And our Demon Prince is going to move here. I'll double check that just a sec to make sure, but that's about 8 inches. So over to the Trader roll this one. I'll be right back and show you guys if they've annihilated this entire Termagant section. And as the Demon Prince continues to get closer, this other section of 20 Termagants might be next. So we'll see what happens. Back and forth, back and forth. The Death Shroud just fought the Termagants. They were able to kill 4 of them. The Termagants fought back, but nothing could be done. So now there are going to be 25 shots coming in against the Death Shroud Terminators to see if any more wounds can be chipped off. And the Demon Prince is getting closer, and he's got a pretty good ranged attack, so we're going to see what happens there. But this is going to be 25 attacks on the Death Shroud. Going to roll that off camera, come back, and show you guys how many wounds have been removed. The shoots continue from the Termagants. They were able to get actually a lot of rolls out and then a lot of wounds through, but the save is still very good for the Death Shroud. So there was the Death Shroud on the right here. It was reduced 1 more wound, so it has 2 left. It is going back over again to Death Guard, and I'm going to do this again. They're going right into hand-to-hand combat. There we go. And our Demon Prince might now be in range, moving him 8 inches. So I'm going to check and see the shoot, do that, and then do the hand-to-hand combat, and I'll come back and sum everything up. But this is getting very, very close, almost right down to the wire here. We'll see if the termagants somehow can do some wounds or survive some shots here. And then maybe kill the demon prince because it's down to 1 wound. So we'll see what happens. I will get everything done there. Going to strategize a bit too. Come back and show you guys the outcome of the Death Guard shoot in hand-to-hand combat. Holy crap, everyone. So the demon prince fired in. It was able to kill a few of the termagants from this section. The man reapers of the Death Shroud Terminators killed the remaining termagant that were here. It is moving back over to the Tyrannid, and I think I'm actually going to put all of these shots onto the demon prince if they're in range to try to hopefully kill this thing, so the Tyrannid can at least kill the warlord of the Death Guard. And then we're going to see what happens with the Death Shroud Terminators. It's coming right down to the end here. And I think it's a sign all of my Tyrannid are pretty much off the board. It might be time to move to something else for a bit. I'm thinking maybe Fight 'em Up series, the heavyweight level. We'll see what happens. And I also have to clean my floor. This table's been here for like 3 weeks, so it's all full of dog hair and stuff. But we'll get over here. It's going to be the Tyrannid turn. They're going to shoot everything they have into that Demon Prince if he's in range, and we will see if he's still going when I come back. So they might be going down after that turn, but they were able to fire everything they had into the Demon Prince. It was not able to make one of its 2+ saves. It rolled a 1, and it has been killed. So the Tyrannid have killed the Warlord for the Death Guard. However, it is back over to the Death Guard now, and I am definitely in range here. I'm going to have these Death Shroud Terminators come in with their Man Reapers, and we're going to see if these Termagants survive this turn. I don't think there's enough attacks in total to be able to kill them all, so this is going to probably go back over to the Tyrannid. But yeah, right down to the wire. So the 2 last Death Guard models versus a remaining section of 16 Termagants. We're going to see how it goes. The battle continues. The Death Shroud were able to kill a few of the Termagant models. It's going back over to them to fire with their flesh borers in hopes that they'll be able to finish off one of the Death Shroud. I don't know if they'll be able to kill both, but let's see how the rolls go. I'll be right back to show you guys what happens. Lots of shots through, just not enough strength there to do it, so the Death Shroud survived. No wounds allocated either. They are taking it back into their turn, and they're going into hand-to-hand combat here. This is probably going to be one of the last 2 turns for the last stand of Tyrannid here. I did not foresee this happening to them at all via any of the forces that we had in here, but the Death Guard have proven me wrong, and we'll see how this goes. So it's back over to the Man Reapers of the Death Shroud Terminators to see what they can do to this little Termagant horde that remains. More Termagants killed. They fought back. We're not able to deal any damage to the Death Shroud. It is back over to the Termagants now. We're going to be firing with the Flesh Borers, see if we can maybe kill this guy on the left. If not, I think this may be the last turn for the Tyrannid because the Man Reapers are going to be coming in. I think I'm going to use Strike on that and see how many attacks I can get in with the damage. So over to the Termagants here really quick to fire their Flesh Borers and see what happens. Already still nothing. The Termagants all fired. I was hoping that they'd be able to do at least 1 wound there. They didn't. So the Death Shroud are coming in now. This might be the very last turn for the Tyrannid. We're going to be using these Man Reapers. I'll see what profile I want to use, if it's Sweep or Strike. With the Sweep attack, the total amount is 8 that I can do, whereas the Strike, if I roll really well, might be able to do like 12. So we'll see what happens. I might do the Sweep just to make sure. And then it's going to maybe go back to the Termagants if they're still going. But I'll do that off camera, come right back and show you guys if there's any Termagants still alive. These Termagants are still holding on somehow. There's 5 of them left. They were not able to do any damage with the counterattack. They're going to fire with their Flesh Borers here and see if they can maybe at least take out one of these guys before they go down next turn, most likely. So here we go. Almost there. Death Guard have been absolutely insane. So I'm going to see how this goes, and we'll see if they can maybe kill one of these Death Shroud Terminators before they get exited from the battle. 2 shots made it through. 2 1 rolls for the wound, so nothing again. And this is probably it for the Tyrannid. So the Death Shroud are moving in with their 5-inch movement. And over to the dice tray, figure out how this goes. If there's any of them left at the end here, I think I'll just call it. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll just take it right to the end. That concludes the fight. The Death Shroud got just enough wounds in without the saves. There was 5 that were delivered to the Termagants. 5 models remained. That is it. The Death Guard are the very first force to win at Last Stand series. They have killed every single Tyranid model. I did not think it was going to happen. There was a 490 point Death Guard army that went in against 1,200 points of Tyranid. These 2 remain. 1 still has full wounds. This is actually supposed to be a 4, but a 4 and a 2. So our Death Shroud have survived. The other Death Guard models were all done, but there was only about 6 of them to start. So just insane. On a tabletop this size, where space doesn't really matter and they can lock into hand-to-hand combat, they were absolutely devastating. So I'm going to show you guys the tally. It's every single Tyranid model that's been entered in here. Here it is. So no need to put a scorecard at the end here. The Death Guard are definitely number 1. So we have Death Guard in first place, Adeptus Custodes in second, Black Templar in third, and then you guys can check out all the other battles and kind of see where you think everyone else should be. They killed the Screamer Killer, the Biovore, the Turvagon, everything. So this is, again, a 1,200 point Tyranid army. If you guys want to see that roster and loadout, what all these models are, it's in the very first battle when I describe this. Insane. So that is it. Death Guard are victorious. I'm actually going to be tearing down the battlefield. I think it's a sign because I can just put all my Tyranid into a box and move it over to something else for a bit. I will definitely come back to Last Stand series. I still want to see how Primarchs are going to do in here, how some of my other Adeptus Astartes will do, as well as Chaos Space Marines. I still have quite a few armies left to put through the gauntlet. But that is it for now. I'm going to pack all this up, and we will see you guys soon. If you guys don't want to miss any content, please like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and hoping to get something out here again soon. Anyone that's in Canada, have a great Victoria Day Monday. Tomorrow, it is Sunday currently, and hope you've all been having a great long weekend. Thank you guys so much for the watch. I think this one might be a very long video when I get it into editing, but thank you for sticking around to watch it through. And if you are a Death Guard player, a hell of a feather in your cap. And if you're fighting against Death Guard, make sure you guys get distance and bring in the strongest weapons that you possibly have with the most attacks that are possible as well. And don't let these guys get in close or they're going to mess you up like they did to the Tyranid here. So that's it for now. Finnigan 40K, Last Stand series. Thank you guys again. Bye-bye for now.